Calling all rich little broke girls. If you want to stop saying you're that girl and actually be that girl, this one's for you.
Welcome back to Rich Little Broke Girls, the only podcast for aspiring housewives and CEOs. Before we get into it, we need to talk. Miss Kimmy can't keep running her business without some feedback from my Rich Little Broke Girls. So take 20 seconds to leave a 5-star review with a compliment. It doesn't have to be true, but it has to be in writing. Hi, girlfriends. Today we are talking all things confidence. This is the Holy Book of Confidence. The first time I recorded this was back in 2024, and it was honestly one of my biggest episodes that year. I was in my mid-20s at the time, and I thought that I would re-record this episode and bring it back from the perspective of a woman in her late 20s. I have said this before, and I will say it again and again and again and again. You cannot control a confident woman. And that is what I love about confidence, right? Like, you can only control a woman who does not prioritize herself. And I feel like my entire life, and I'm sure so many of you girls listening can relate to this, but my entire life I have been called, oh my God, she's just like overly confident. She's so full of herself. She's conceited. But like, I don't know. I feel like the people that try to humble you, they try to humble you because they're intimidated by you. But am I intimidating or are you intimidated, right? Like, am I too much or are you too little, right? Like, why are we always trying to humble women that are full of themselves? What's wrong with being full of yourself? I am a single woman. And by single, I mean there's not a single human being on this planet Earth that is depending on me for life. So if I'm not full of myself, what am I supposed to be full of? What am I supposed to be full of? Bullshit? Am I supposed to be full of hating myself, self-loathing? Am I supposed to be full of all the insecurities that these industries are slinging for profit? Like, if I'm being honest, I think every woman should be full of herself, right? Like, we should be full of our goals, our dreams, our passions. We should be full of building our lives and finding our independence. And for me, confidence really did start at an early age. Like, I may not have been born with a silver spoon, but I was born with a gold bar up my ass. I was born thinking that I shit rainbows, butterflies, and sprinkles. My mom did a phenomenal job instilling this idea that I could do anything, right? Like, I could do anything. I could be anything. If I didn't know how to do it, I could figure out how to do it, right? I could have anything. I could want anything. My mom did such a damn good job with instilling confidence in me at such a young age. And I do feel like the girls that are overly quote unquote confident, or the girls that just have this air of importance to themselves, I think they come from a don't let them see you sweat mom, right? Like a you can cry at home mom, a mom that is very much like when you are out in the world, you smile, you wave, you keep your head up, you do your hair, you do your makeup, and you go out there and you put on a show, because that's exactly how my mom was. She was very much like, when you get home, you can cry in your pillow, we can talk about your feelings and your emotions, but when you're out there, you put on a show. And I really appreciate that, because I do think it's really important to present as a woman who can do anything, right? Like, if I'm met with a challenge, I can absolutely figure it out. And in so many ways, I do feel like maybe my mom was a little bit of a stage mom, but more of a like, the world is your stage, right? Like, you show up and you show out. And I really do appreciate her for that. I mean, obviously, I have had shortcomings, right? Like, obviously, my confidence over the years has been tested. Obviously, I grew up with insecurities like anybody else. And if I'm being vulnerable right now, like physically growing up, I was so insecure about my lips because they were fuller than everyone else's. I was so insecure for a very long time about my hair because I just didn't know how to do it. Like, I didn't know how to manipulate it to get it to do what I wanted it to do. Like, it made me so insecure. My hair, my lips made me insecure. I do think growing up romantically, I had insecurities around around my likability, right? Like I knew I was a pretty girl, but I also had a lot of pretty friends. And so when it came to guys, I just like never assumed it was me. Like I always assumed if they were looking over at like me and my girlfriends, if we're like in a group out somewhere or just like at lunch or on the playground, I don't know, whatever girls do, if we were ever together, I always assumed that the guy looking over was maybe looking at one of my friends because my friends were really pretty too. And so that was something that I had to work through growing up. And honestly, for me, it wasn't until I was a little bit older that it dawned on me, oh my God, wait, that person had a crush on you. Like that person was actually into you. Or, you know, there would be situations where I assumed that, oh my God, he's not into me. And then he's like telling his buddy, I really, really like Kim, right? But I was a little bit insecure about my likability and I never assumed it was me, even though sometimes and a lot of the times it was me. And then I had a lot of insecurities around work, specifically when I had a 9 to 5 and I was in corporate. And I think it's because I didn't necessarily have like a clear career path or like a clear end goal when it came to corporate America. And a lot of my friends did, right? Like a lot of my friends knew exactly what they wanted to do. A lot of my friends were like, oh my God, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm going to end up being the chief marketing officer. I'm going to end up being, you know, the creative director. I am going to go into the fashion industry and become a buyer. Or like all of my friends had like a very specific path, right? Like they knew exactly what they wanted to do in corporate America and I just didn't. And so that made me very insecure because I was like, okay, like what am I supposed to do? And what actually built confidence for me was when I had a clear understanding of who I am, right? Like when I had an understanding of, okay, this is how I want to present myself. This is how I want to communicate. This is what I want to do. Like when I figured those things out, my confidence just skyrocketed, right? A lot of my insecurities, especially around work and career and direction and purpose, a lot of those things were resolved when I leaned into what I was good at and I was like, oh, okay, I really want to do this. And I just started to feel more like myself. And I think I started to feel more like myself because I found myself in so many words. So this is everything that I know about confidence, right? How to build confidence, but most importantly, how to rebuild confidence. Because let me tell you something, it is one thing to be ready for a fight, but what are you going to do when you get hit, right? Like, what are you going to do when your confidence gets shaken to its core? What are you going to do when you are in the face of criticism and setbacks? So I think, yes, it's great to know how to build the confidence, but I really, really, really want to show you how I personally rebuild confidence because, oh my God, I have been in the gutter. Okay. I have really been through it and I really have had to look inward and say, okay, girl, like, we got to figure this shit out. Like, I have to remember that I am that girl. So I say this in every episode, take what you want and leave what you don't. Okay, let's get into it. I think it's important to start with my personal definition of confidence, right? Like if you opened up the Kimberly Bizu dictionary, this is what the definition would read. Confidence is about believing the shit that comes out of your mouth by proving to yourself that you're not full of it. Confidence is really about closing the gap between your ideas and your action, who you say you are and who you actually are. And I think when you ask the question, okay, how do I build self-confidence? Guys, if you say you're gonna do something, you have to do it, right? Because you really do have to close the gap between your ideas of yourself and the action of being you. And that doesn't happen if you talk a big game, but you don't play a big game, right? Like if you're constantly saying you're going to do X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you do none of it. And so you want to try to close the gap between the woman on your vision board and the woman in your mirror. So that is what confidence means to me. I do think that there is a fine line between like being conceited and confidence. To me, being conceited is like you are someone that talks a big game. If you just talk a big game, but it's not rooted in reality, you are likely conceited. But if you play a big game, you are fucking confident. Being conceited gets you nowhere. Being confident gets you everywhere. My goal here is to teach you how I build confidence, right? And how I rebuild confidence, not how I talk a big game. No. I don't just talk a big game. I play a big game. And in fact, I play a bigger game than I talk. And that is someone that is truly confident. I think before getting into how I actually build confidence, I'd be remiss by not sharing what areas we should all be focusing on when building confidence, right? So there are 4 areas of focus. The first is your physical, the second is your mental, the third is your emotional, and the fourth is your social. Now, some of these will give you a quicker ROI and some of them are a longer game. For example, your physical, right? Like working out, your style, putting yourself together, that will give you a very quick ROI, right? You work out, you feel good. You dress well, you feel good. You put together a nice look, you feel good. You put yourself together, you feel good. You brush your hair, you feel good. You brush your teeth, you feel good. Like it's a very quick ROI. But then there are areas like your mental, right? Your mental is your mindset. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to build mental fortitude, but your mindset will make you unshakable. So that is an example of an area of focus that is more like a longer game. But they're all equally important. And I do feel like it is our life's work to build our confidence in all of these areas because they're not all going to happen at the same time, right? It's going to take time to build confidence, period, point blank. So building confidence in these 4 areas, they're each a little different. So I'm going to try to break it down for you so that you can have an understanding of the things that you need to focus on when you're considering your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your social. So when it comes to your physical, you build confidence by taking responsibility for your body, right? By taking responsibility for your appearance, taking responsibility for how you feel, taking responsibility for your energy so that when you walk into any room, you feel like you belong. Then there's your mental, which I mentioned earlier, right? It takes a little bit more time. It's definitely a longer game. But when it comes to your mental, you build confidence by figuring out ways to like upgrade and elevate your self-concept, by elevating and upgrading your beliefs so that your mind, it matches the life that you're asking for. Obviously, this is going to take time, but the idea is that you want to be moving from a place of limiting beliefs to a place of abundance, right? To an abundant mindset. And I know I talk about abundance mindsets all the time, but it's a very powerful reframe because like I always say, it's not about wanting more, it's about believing there is more, right? And that is an abundance mindset. Then there's emotional confidence. You build emotional confidence by learning to self-soothe, by learning self-trust, and by learning to feel safe choosing yourself, even if it makes you uncomfortable. This is where you want to move from a place of gaslighting yourself to a place of trusting your feelings and your intuition, right? I think a lot of times we gaslight ourselves out of what we're feeling. We try to gaslight ourselves out of our intuition. We say, oh, no, like that can't be right. That can't be right. And we push forward. But if you want to build emotional confidence, you need to learn to trust yourself. You need to learn to choose yourself. I think a lot of friction comes when you're going against yourself. A lot of friction comes when you are trying to force a square into a circle. You know when something's right, you know when something's wrong. And I do think that when you try to lie to yourself into believing something that is wrong is actually right, that is where that friction comes. And it just makes our lives a lot more harder than it needs to be. Last but not least is social. Building social confidence is really all about setting standards, right? It's all about communicating clearly and surrounding yourself with people who reflect your worth back to you. If you are doing all of this work to build your self-concept, if you are doing all of this work to build your intuition, if you are doing all of this work to build your physical confidence, then you need to surround yourself with people that match that. You need to surround yourself with people that meet your standards and respect your boundaries. And I do think that a lot of times, especially if you are a people pleaser, especially if you are someone that is so afraid to let other people down, you can end up letting people walk all over you. You can end up letting people disrespect you because you don't have that social confidence. You want the people around you to reflect back the self-worth that you are working diligently to improve. You guys know I love visualizing. You guys know I like lists. You guys know I like to, look into the future and envision who I am. So when it comes to setting the foundation of building confidence, something that I love to do is visualize the best version of myself and really think like, okay, who is she, right? Like, what does she do? What does she eat? What kind of workout is she into? Okay, like how often does she work out? How does she spend her free time? How does she dress? How does she communicate? I mean, I get as specific as I possibly can. And if you're doing this, like you need to get as specific as you possibly can. But there has to be an idea of a woman you want to become. And then confidence is built as you decide to become her little by little. For me personally, I know, oh my God, I know everything about this woman. I know what car she drives. I know what dildo she uses. I know what candle is burning while she manifests. If you guys have listened to my episode, Goal Setting for Girls Who Want Everything, I'll link it in the show notes, then you have already designed the best version of yourself, right? Like you know exactly who she is. So when it comes to building confidence, you're going to build confidence as you work to achieve those goals, right? Like as you work to embody this life vision that you've mapped out for yourself. I want to get to the heart of this episode and really unpack confidence because this episode is for you, the girlfriends. This is my holy book of confidence. I will reference this episode until the day I fall off the face of the earth. The last time I filmed this, I asked you girls on TikTok and on Instagram for your confidence related questions. I got over 100 questions. They were so goddamn good. They were so good. So I kind of just like separated them by common themes so that I'm technically answering every single one of them. So at the core of so many of your questions was this: where does confidence come from? Your body, your mind, or both? I like to think about it like this. Confidence to me is the connection between your mind and your body, because your ideas, who you want to be, what you want to do, how you see yourself, those are all created in your mind, but your body is the function that executes those ideas. You may be like, oh my God, I am a fucking superstar. Okay, that's great. That's amazing that you have those ideas of yourself, but your body is the thing that actually acts on those ideas. And consistent action is what builds confidence. So confidence really starts when your mind decides, okay, I am this kind of woman, and then your body proves and I act like her consistently. Does that make sense? I hope that's not too esoteric, but I say all of this to say that your body is the function that executes your ideas. So whatever you have going on in your head, your body is what actually acts on those ideas. And if you want to build confidence, then your body has to consistently act on those ideas and prove that, okay, I am the woman that I think I am. I am the woman that I say I am because I consistently act in line with her. There were a lot of questions around confidence and self-perception. So one question is, how do you start seeing yourself as that girl and get the world to see you that way too? I absolutely love this question because being that girl isn't just about how you see yourself. It's about how the world reads you, right? And the truth is, people start forming opinions about who you are, who they think you are, who you should be the second you walk into a room. And that's where the importance of like presenting well comes into play. I have said this a million times. I talk about this on TikTok a lot, but the most confident women that I know, they always look put together, right? Like whether they're going to an event, a red carpet, or they're just going to the grocery store, or they're going to the gym, or they're running errands. And a lot of people don't realize it, but it triggers something called the halo effect. They basically look so put together that people start assuming they're smart, right? Or they're kind, or they're successful, or they're like interesting, and then they treat them better. It's almost like without evidence or thought, they just start attributing positive characteristics and traits to them just on the basis of them putting themselves together. And I honestly think that in real life, you can actually engineer that by just knowing your version of pretty, right? Knowing your version of polish. Because when you show up polished and confident and intentional, you feel good. Okay, you look good, and people naturally reflect that positive energy back to you. I want to be clear when I say this and when I'm talking about the halo effect, it's not about being perfect. It's about the energy and the presence that you lead with, right? Because how you present yourself, it matters. It really does matter. How you present yourself influences how people read you. How you present yourself influences how people treat you. So if you're a confident woman and you embody the look of a confident woman, right? And you have taken the time to understand, okay, this is what makes me look put together. This is what makes me look polished. You will see that people will start treating you better. For me, at a minimum, I need clean and moisturized skin, right? I need to have like groomed brows and hair. I need to have on a simple outfit. Like matching sets and monochromatic looks are really, really easy for me, but that's what works for me. You need to find what works for you. And honestly, if you don't know where to start, just find a role model, right? Like find a role model that resembles you. Go on Pinterest, start like curating your look and think about things that will flatter you. Like I wouldn't go and, choose Bella Hadid as my, role model, right? I would choose someone like a Kerry Washington. I would choose someone like a Jasmine Tooks. Like those would be appropriate role models for me if I didn't know where to start because, we kind of resemble each other, right? Like I give Olivia Pope. I give Kerry Washington. Yes, I'm going to compare myself to Jasmine Tooks, the supermodel, because people say that I resemble her sometimes. So I would literally think about, okay, who resembles me? Who kind of like gives off my vibe? And then I would use them as, kind of my reference point. Okay, if this worked on her, it'll likely work on me. But when it comes to engineering the halo effect, like you really, really, really need to find what works for you. I want to make sure that I'm not overstating how you look when it comes to confidence because building confidence isn't just about how you look, right? It's also about how you feel, especially if you've never quite felt like you belonged, right? Especially if you're someone that for a very long time has lacked confidence, right? Someone that for a very long time has let their limiting beliefs run their whole mind. Someone who has literally bowed to the altar of their insecurities. Like what you look is half of it. How you feel is honestly the most important part. This next question came up over and over and over and over again in my messages. A lot of you asked, how do you build and maintain confidence when you feel like an outsider? Oh my God, this is a question after my own heart because for a very long time, I have felt like an outsider, and I'm sure a lot of the girls listening can relate to that. But first and foremost, there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with being an outsider. I was born feeling like an outsider. I was born feeling like I never belonged. I am, will always be the black sheep in my family, right? When I was a kid, when I was in high school, when I was in college, even like now, I still feel like, okay, I'm different. And honestly, I love that about me because there is nothing wrong with being an outsider. In fact, the most successful people in this world are considered outliers. And by definition, what is an outlier? What's an outlier? An outlier is an outsider, right? It's someone who stands apart from the norm, right? It's someone who creates their own path. I am obsessed with Malcolm Gladwell. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and he wrote the book Outliers. And basically, his research shows that being an outlier is essential for standing out in the world and being successful. So you need to be confident in the fact that maybe you move differently, right? You need to be confident in the fact that you might look different. You need to be confident in the fact that you think differently, because that is your advantage, right? That is your superpower. And if you want to be successful, then you need to lean into the things that make you different. And if you want to build confidence, you need to accept the things that make you different, because the bottom line is you can't let the world make you feel small about the very thing that will set you apart and define you as an outlier, right? You have to radically accept who you are, and then you have to radically create opportunities from it. And the first step is to accept who you are, and then you can figure out, okay, can I leverage this? Should I change this? Or maybe I should just refine it. But accept it first. I will say, once you accept who you are and you start to build confidence around your self-perception, the next place your confidence will be tested is in your relationships. So many of you asked me some version of this next question. How can you build confidence in love, friendships, and professional networks? Basically, this is how do you build social confidence, right? That's basically what you guys are asking. How do I build social confidence? Building social confidence comes down to two things: standards and boundaries. But a lot of people don't even know how to define those. A lot of people don't even know what their standards or their boundaries are. So in order to define your standards and your boundaries, you have to observe yourself. You have to pay attention to yourself. You have to pay attention to how you feel. If something makes you uncomfortable, that is signaling a boundary. But if something is consistently making you feel small or disrespectful or just out of alignment with who you believe you are, it is below your standards. So boundaries are about what you will and will not tolerate, but standards are about what you expect and require to feel like yourself. I will say, having standards and boundaries are all fun and games until you realize that you are the enforcer of said standards and said boundaries, right? And your confidence will actually determine how you do that and how you communicate your standards and your boundaries, because 97% of communication is nonverbal. So you can't just tell people what your boundaries are, right? You can't just tell people what your standards are. You have to effectively communicate what your boundaries are by confidently showing people what your boundaries are, right? Confidently showing people what your standards are. I honestly think that communication being mostly nonverbal is actually a good thing, because you don't necessarily have to put yourself into a screaming match, right? You don't have to necessarily confront people and be like, I told you that you need to treat me like X, Y, and Z. No. You can just show them. You can show people what you will and will not accept, right? You can show people what they can and cannot do by you. The reality is, as we talk about building confidence, which again is about proving to yourself that you're not full of shit, the most important thing when it comes to social confidence is showing yourself that your boundaries are actually your boundaries, and proving that your standards are really your standards by not accepting what you don't accept, and by not constantly gaslighting yourself and making yourself feel like, okay, I should feel okay with someone walking all over me. This made me feel very uncomfortable, but that's okay. I really like this person and I really want this person to like me, so I'm not gonna say anything. No, sweetie, you feeling uncomfortable, that is signaling a fucking boundary. So like, if that's your boundary, then abide by it, right? Like, show this person that actually the buck stops there. If someone is consistently, and it doesn't even have to be a person, but if something is consistently making you feel small, making you feel disrespected, like, that thing is below your standards. So if your standards are actually your standards, then like, you need to show this thing or this person that actually, I don't accept that. So stop trying to gaslight yourself out of your standards and your boundaries. Like if you are serious about building your confidence, then you have to stand on business regardless of if it makes you uncomfortable or not. Because again, you have to build that self-trust. You have to. But you girls know, even when you do all of that, right? Even when you have built up your mental fortitude, you trust yourself, right? Like you're setting your boundaries and you're staying true to your standards, life will still try to humble you. So we absolutely have to talk about confidence in the face of criticism and setbacks, because a lot of you asked questions along the lines of this next one. You guys asked, how do you keep your confidence intact when facing insults or setbacks? I know a thing or two about this. And this is really, 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 really hard, because for me, when I am facing like massive criticism and setbacks, it sends me into the most insane spiral, right? Like it makes me want to, no, it doesn't make me. It literally forces me to lock myself into my fucking apartment, right? I close all the fucking blinds and I never want to leave. Like it gives me nightmares. It gives me cold sweats. It gives me chills. It gives me anxiety. And you know, the nature of what I do is so public, right? It's online. So a lot of my criticism comes from the internet. So it's highly publicized and it just makes me feel like complete and utter shit. And so I have really firsthand had to learn, okay, in the face of fucking insults, in the face of setbacks, in the face of criticism, whether it's warranted or not, I have to know how to rebuild my confidence, because I did not come this far just to come this far. I have not worked this hard to build my confidence to this level only for it to crumble the second that I get pushback, right? The second that someone says, actually, I don't like you. The second someone says, that bitch. Like, I cannot crumble the second that I face criticism. Like, if that's the case, then I just can't do what I do. So there are 3 things that I do when I need to rebuild my confidence in the face of criticisms or setback. Number 1, I give myself time. I give myself time. I give myself time to hear the criticism, right? To really understand the setback, right? Why did it happen? How did I get here? And how did I contribute to this situation? Because I don't live in a vacuum, and criticism doesn't happen in a vacuum, and setbacks don't happen in a vacuum. And I never want to absolve myself of any responsibility or any accountability, right? I got here for a reason. So I really do give myself time to analyze the reason and understand, okay, how did I get here so that I can never fucking get here again? Because I don't like having anxiety. I don't like having nightmares. I don't like, feeling like I need to lock myself in a room, close all the blinds and never leave because someone is talking shit about me. Like, I don't like that. And of course, all setbacks and criticism, like not everything is warranted. Sometimes you are just met with a left field, nasty, disgusting setback that there is nothing that you could have done to avoid it. So I understand that as well. And in that case, then it's just giving myself time to understand what I'm in so that I can work to get out of it. So not everything is your fault, but I do like to analyze the situation so that I can see if there's anything that I did, any mistake, any shortcoming that got me here, because I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't like it. I clearly don't like it. But once I understand, okay, I'm in a hole. This is how I tripped. This is where I fell. This is how I ended up in the hole. The next thing I need to do is remind myself who the fuck I am, right? Like, I need to remind myself who I am so that I can get out of the hole. If you are down bad, you need to get back up, right? If you fall down, you need to get back up. And for me, getting back up is easy when I remember that I'm a girl that gets back up. I remember who I am. I'm a girl that survives. I'm a girl that prevails. I am literally that girl, and that girl doesn't stay down for long. And in order to do that, I really lean into my community. I call my friends, I'll call my mom, I will call my first grade teacher if I have to. I don't give a I just need someone to remind me that I am, in fact, that girl. That also speaks to the importance of having a community that reflects your worth back to you. You have to surround yourself with people who get you, who support you, but ultimately who are in line with your self-concept and self-perception. Because if you view yourself on a level 10 and you have people around you that view you on a level 2, well then like how are they going to remind you who you are if they don't even know who you are? You know, like how are they going to tell you that you're that girl if they don't even think you're that girl? So you really do have to have a community of people around you that believe in you, that know you're that girl, and that will remind you that you're that girl. I do not play about that. I only have people around me that see me, that understand me, and that will uplift me. Anything less than that, I want no parts in it. Anything less than that is below my standards. And as a confident woman who is working through her social confidence, I show people what my motherfucking standards are, okay? And if you don't meet them, you have to go. Last but not least, the final thing that I do when I am in the face of criticism or setbacks, I get fucking revenge. I get revenge. In the words of Beyonce, the best revenge is your motherfucking paper. I lean into what I'm good at and I get better, right? I get hotter. I get more productive. I get shit done. And it might seem toxic, but life is about moving forward. And I don't have time for a pity party. So if I'm down bad, I need to figure out, okay, why am I in this hole? Let's get the out of this hole and let's get back to work. But I don't have time to sit around and sulk. No. I'm gonna get back to work and I'm gonna do better work because I now have the knowledge to not trip and fall in that hole again. You know what I mean? Like I actually know how to finesse situations better, right? And that's what you get from setbacks. That's what you get from criticism. If you play it right, it actually strengthens your confidence, right? It actually boosts your morale because not only are you that girl, you have now proved that I am that girl. And when I trip and I fall, I get back up and I'm a better version of the last girl. See what I'm saying? The real lesson is this, okay? Confidence is about believing the shit that comes out of your mouth by proving to yourself that you're not full of it. And if you want to build confidence, you have to close the gap between who you say you are and who you actually are. So if you say you're going to do something, you have to do that because your mental confidence, right? Your mindset, your self-concept, your beliefs, it's the most important layer because it spills into everything. It spills into your physical confidence. It spills into your emotional confidence. It spills into your social confidence. So the real work is upgrading how you see yourself and what you believe you're allowed to have. Yes, it is slow. Yes, it is the long game, but it is so powerful because the bottom line is no one can take away that sense of accomplishment and achievement of building your confidence. And when life tests you, because life will test you, life will try to humble you, you will have so many reference points, so much proof that you are who you say you are, right? You can do hard things. You will have proof that the things that you once dreamed about, you actually made them happen. And that, my friends, is the power of building your goddamn confidence.
Rich Little Broke Girls is supported by you and our brand partners. So if you love me, don't treat me like a boy and let's make it official. Put it on record where our sponsors can see and give me a 5-star review with a compliment. It doesn't have to be true, but it has to be in writing.
Ladies, it is my favorite time of the show.
Dial star 67 because this is anonymous.
It's time for confession session. You submit your juiciest confessions and questions to richlittlebrokegirls.com/confess and I answer them live on the show. Our first question is from Catherine in LA. She asked, how do you get over the fear of being perceived? Oh my God, I feel like this is such a big question. And I have been asked a version of this question so many times. So many times, which means that it's on your minds, right? The girls are contemplating. The girls are struggling with being perceived. The girls are struggling with visibility. The girls are struggling with, putting themselves out there and feeling comfortable putting themselves out there. But it really comes down to one question. What are you more afraid of? Being judged or being stagnant? Right? Like, are you more afraid of being talked about or being in the exact same place this time next year? Paul Graham is one of my favorite essayists, but before he is an essayist, he is the co-founder of Y Combinator, and he talks a lot about visibility as it correlates to your success. And he says that visibility is directly correlated to your success because luck can only find you if you can be found. But that's the piece that no one admits, right? So many people want success, but they're so afraid of visibility. They're so afraid to put themselves out there, but you cannot call in opportunities from the shadows, right? Like, you cannot step into a bigger life while making yourself small. And this is what so many of us do. So many of us do. I know that I used to do this. Like, so many of us are grown ass women, right? We have all this ambition. We have skills that could literally change our lives, but we shrink, right? We shrink at the idea of people talking about us. We shrink at the idea of people perceiving us. But honestly, it's kind of delusional when you think about it. Like, when you really deep it, it's really weird because we act like being perceived is dangerous when the real danger is silencing ourselves to keep other people comfortable. The real danger is being stagnant because you're so afraid of visibility. You're so afraid to be perceived. Let me tell you something. Take it from a girl who puts herself online every goddamn day. Success is directly correlated with your visibility. I had to get clear about my goals. I had to then act in line with my goals. And then I had to put myself out there because luck can only find you if you can be found. So don't be afraid of being perceived. And even if you are afraid, do it anyway. Next up, Jen in Chicago sent in a confidence dilemma. She writes, one of my girlfriends has been shaming me for the last few weeks about wearing makeup at work. She says that it doesn't matter how you look in the office and that wearing so much makeup could send the wrong message and sometimes make you look unprofessional. I feel like the makeup I wear is pretty basic. Is my friend being a hater or am I doing too much? Like risking seeming unserious about my job by spending time on my makeup every morning. Two things can be true at the same time. The halo effect is real and being put together is favorable. And also, your makeup and just your look in general should never overshadow your performance. To be honest, I don't think your friend is being a hater. I just think you guys have a difference of opinion, right? Like what you think is effortless, they see as doing a lot. When it comes to work, I have to quote Jody Taylor, who was on the podcast. I'll add a link to her episode in the show notes. She explains how to show up to work brilliantly. She says, no, you shouldn't bring your authentic self to work. What you should do is observe and adapt, right? Like you should study the culture of your company. You should become culturally fluent. You should understand the language of power, right? Like how do people dress? How do they communicate? How do the power players of your organization show up and then emulate them? So if your power players are dressed to the nines, right, hair and makeup snatch, then yes, you should do the same thing. But if this is like a WeWork Adam Newman situation and your leaders are wearing t-shirts and sweatpants and they're walking around barefoot, then you might want to dial it back. You might want to consider a more casual but still put together version of that, right? It's all very relative. So just observe the culture of your company and adapt to it. I don't think think your friend is being a hater, but I do think that you need to observe what's actually going on and then emulate what's working, emulate what the power players are doing if your goal is to rise in your organization. All right, girlfriends, if you have made it this far, I love you. Please leave me a raving review. And in return, here is your weekly pick-me-up, because sometimes you just need a little shot of motivation. This week's shot was sent over by Toni Morrison from her book, Beloved. It is short and it is sweet. She writes, "You are your best thing." My God, I love that. I love that. I love that. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. Confidence isn't about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. Okay? And true confidence is built when you realize that everything you need already exists within you, right? And it is your life's work to use what you have to bring your ideas to life. This quote is really a reminder that no level of external validation will ever outweigh the power of knowing your own worth, right? By radically accepting who you are and then taking the time to refine yourself. When you really own the idea that you are your best thing, it shifts your entire perspective, right? You stop looking around for approval from everyone else and you start acting in line with who you truly are. Because I cannot stress this enough. Confidence, it's not a buzzword. Confidence is literally what gets you out of bed and conquering the world. But the first step is to accept who you are and then figure out, okay, can I leverage it, change it, or refine it? Until next time, I'll see you all so soon.
Yeah, wait, before you go, leave me a review with a compliment. All right, if you have something negative to say, email it to me. Do not put that on the internet. All right, leave me a review.